Washington Capitals is the next team that is under a scrutiny review here, and team has been quite dynasty during the last 10 seasons, and finally 3 years ago they won a Stanley Cup. How do you see, Tommy? Was that enough for them, or do they still have any hunger left to repeat it next season or maybe in near future?
Yeah, Capitals have been a contender as long as I remember. So 13 seasons, only once missed the playoffs. Like you said, won the Stanley Cup a couple of years back, finally, after a long wait. But of course, a long success brings some problems. So players are aging a bit. They don't have that much of young talent and draft picks. So they are running into some sort of issues in the near future, but that time is not yet. Simulations have them second in the Eastern Division, which is one of the toughest divisions in the NHL this season. What was it? Mass Mutual.
Exactly.
Mass Mutual East Division is one of the toughest ones in the NHL. So Capitals will definitely be top there, but the games will be extremely interesting with all the best teams in Metropolitan Division, and then we're adding Boston and Buffalo there as well. So a good group of teams. Of course, Capitals have been in the regular season quite routinely won 65% around a game. So they haven't needed any sort of playoff battles to reach the playoffs. So we'll see how much they are prepared for this sort of new kind of season. Last season, they let go of Todd Reirden, or after the season, because of the really bad playoff performances, which was a bit harsh considering that Reirden had only spent 2 seasons with the team, both very successful except for the playoffs. So that probably tells how high the expectations are with the Capitals. So anything else but the Stanley Cup is a disappointment. Of course, it was insult to injury that it was Barry Trotz and the Islanders who ran over Capitals last season in the playoffs. So that might have hurt a bit with the ownership of the team. How about our predictions with the Capitals?
Like you said, Capitals has been one of the best teams in NHL during the last seasons, and they won almost 60% of their home games, almost 57% of their road games. So especially the away performance has been very strong, and that has resulted pretty accurate predictions from our side. So there has been a lot of positive expected value in Washington games, and away 63% of those games have had some value, and predictions based on our simulations have been very accurate. So if you would bet all of those games, you would end up having $1,495 profit in your pocket during the last 3 seasons. And interesting here is that the home game, similar kind of amount of positive expected value exists, but as big favorite in many of those games, I think losing one game here and there and betting with those low odds, even with some positive expected value, hasn't been good approach, and that hasn't been so profitable based on the simulations. And one other topic from the statistics is that if their away win percentage during the last 3 seasons is reasonably high, 57%, the back-to-back away games haven't been so successful for Capitals, so that win percent is only 41.7, so 15% less than on average they won on the road, and maybe that is reflecting the aging of the team. So when you are on the road, you travel, you lose your energy, and then you play back-to-back games, you are not very successful. So as that team is not getting any younger with 43-year-old Zdeno Chara in the defense this season. I would be checking those back-to-back away games very carefully if there's some value to bet against Washington.
Yeah, that's an interesting tidbit there because like we established that Capitals have been pretty routinely rolling through the regular season, so that's something that could affect also the back-to-back on the road. Sometimes maybe not the motivation to play the 100% anymore and these sort of things. So let's see how it works in this new setting of the divisional games and the really tight schedule with probably a lot of back-to-back games, or at least these one day in between and then a longer series, so like a playoff style hockey.
Yeah, I think in schedule it basically starts with 3 games back-to-back on the road, so against Buffalo and Pittsburgh. The next longer road trip again, 3 back-to-back games in Buffalo and Pittsburgh, so they repeat this similar kind of setup. And then in April there is another stretch, Islanders and Devils, 3 games back-to-back. So I think the last game that they are playing back-to-back there in these mini-series would be something to bet against them without seeing odds or our probabilities.
Yeah, we have to highlight those in the calendar with a pen to remember this particular bet.
Yeah.
Capitals is facing the teams that they've been facing a lot in the past. So it's the Metropolitan Division where Carolina and Columbus is replaced by Boston and Buffalo. So it's interesting to see those teams a bit more. Of course, really good games in the past couple of years against Penguins, Flyers, and the New York teams as well. Peter Laviolette is the new coach, so there is a coaching change. Of course, very sort of a coach that is very respected and is expected to take Capitals into this sort of mode that they will be able to win the Stanley Cup once again. Really demanding coach, but probably a very respected by the players and should bring a lot of energy to this maybe a little bit lethargic Capitals team, especially last season in the playoffs. They didn't look good, so it was something that the ownership definitely wanted to take a look at and probably brought in Laviolette to make sure that there is no laziness anymore in this team. Judging by their playoff presence in the past, they should do pretty well against the teams in their division. But how about the facts? How do you see these divisional rivals?
Those, let's say, old divisional rival games have been quite even. So, like you said, against Pittsburgh, Washington has won 53% of the games. Against Philadelphia, 46% of the games. Then New York Rangers has been easy matchup with them. They have won 73% of the games and beat similarly New Jersey Devils as well, 66% of the games. But maybe the playoffs run over last season was one reason that against Islanders their overall number is only 47%, and otherwise that would be also a bit over 50. But now when they lost 4-0, this changed the average or overall win percentage against the Islanders. But then these new teams, Buffalo 62%, so pretty standard with these teams with very different levels in the seasons past. But then Boston is interestingly 10 games. Washington has won 8 of those, so Boston only 2. Maybe the Boston grind style of hockey is not affecting Washington so much, and of course Washington has their own hard-nosed guys who are making sure that you feel the hits in your body. how do you see from the roster point of view? Is this aging roster made for these kind of mass mutual East Division teams matchups?
Yeah, probably if you judge by the past, it's a team that hasn't gone through a lot of changes. It's pretty much the same. They make always just small adjustments in their team, so they've done quite well, and I'm expecting them to do well again. And this was interesting to hear about the Boston Bruins, that we were a bit wondering why in simulations Bruins are lower than Capitals, but this explains it quite well. So they've been playing extremely well against the Bruins. Of course, now Capitals changed their goaltending. They send Braden Holtby to Vancouver, and Russian Ilya Samsonov is taking over as #1 goaltender. He started 26 games last season, winning 16, so pretty good numbers there. But of course, not yet established NHL level #1 goalkeeper, but he has a lot of potential, a lot of talent, so should be fine there. They brought in Henrik Lundqvist then from Rangers, but he is out for the season due to a heart condition, and probably gonna end his very respectful career after this season or during this season. Craig Anderson from Ottawa is now having a professional tryout during the training camp, so looking for this second goaltender spot. And then there are a couple of very fringe keepers to back up. So it's uncertain who will be the backup for Samsonov, but he's a young guy and probably able to play most of the season anyway, with these 56 games only in the regular season. For the defense, Capitals is extremely good, both defensively and offensively, of course, led by John Carlson, who scored ridiculous 75 points in 69 games last season from the defender spots, so led the team. Dmitry Orlov, Justin Schultz came from Penguins, provide some offense also. Of course, like you mentioned, 43-year-old young Jeno Chara from Boston brings in definitely experience, leadership, all these things. So the team is defensively very sound, and Brendan Dillon and Nick Jensen also worth mentioning. They provide some sort of toughness there in the defensive end as well. So it is a very well balanced D. In the offense, of course, that's the main weapon for the Capitals, with Alex Ovechkin, Nicholas Bäckström, Yevgeny Kuznetsov, and then, like you said, matching Brad Marchand in the Boston team is Tom Wilson. So they also have a lot of talent, but really tough players as well to play against. And the talents of DJ Oshie and Jakub Vrana, now a younger guy, coming through as well. So especially the top six is top notch. Then maybe a little bit of a drop in the bottom six, not as much offensive prowess, but a lot of good defensive players there. So can't say that Washington would have any weaknesses, really. The goaltender situation is a bit of a question mark, but probably something that they know better how to solve. And yeah, they are a surefire contender again. Let's see how well they do against the Bostons and the like. But I'm expecting big things from this Capital team. How about our season simulations in the past? How have we been doing?
So 3 years ago, we predicted that Washington will be fourth in the East. Actually, we matched exactly the Vegas points line, 104 points. So it wasn't over or under, it was exactly the same, and Washington got 105. So you cannot predict too much better than that one, missing only 1 point of the total. Then again, 2 years ago, we predicted them to be fourth in the East and going over 98.5%. And end of this regular season, they were third. They got 104 points, exactly what we predicted. So that was maybe even better. And then last season, our prediction was that they would go again over 97.5 points. And when season was cut short, they played 69 games and they got 90 points. So I would pretty surely say that if they would continue to play as is and played last 13 games, they would go over as we predicted. So we have been able to predict Capitals very well. Maybe they are quite a predictable team at the end.
Yeah, they've been so good in the past, so it's been probably easy picking for the simulations to see. This season, of course, is a lot different than any of the previous ones, with only 56 games in regular season, only played within the division. So a lot of weird things can happen. But with Washington's routine, they probably are favorites to go to the playoffs for sure. They are favored only third actually by the odds in their division, which is quite interesting. There is Boston and Philadelphia actually having bigger odds. No, actually lower odds in the Stanley Cup predictions. So Capitals are ranked 7th overall in Stanley Cup odds, but both of those two teams in their division are above them, so have lower odds. So this is an interesting take there. So I wouldn't bet on Washington to win their division because the odds are only 400. But for the Stanley Cup, their odds are closer to 2,000. So possibly something to look at, especially with the Stanley Cup odds, that the favorites are valued less than plus 1,000. So it's a big difference, and it's quite interesting to see that how does this line move, and if the total lines come out, how do they look?
Yeah, I think teams that have won a Stanley Cup within last few years and been more or less intact from the roster point of view, more experience, of course, a bit more aging, but I still agree with you that Washington has all the tools to win the Stanley Cup again.
Yeah, and also their experienced players, their window to win the Stanley Cup is closing. Not yet, maybe not in 2 years or so, but it is closing. So they are probably motivated to go all in if possible. And also bringing in Peter Laviolette as a head coach is something that shows that, okay, now guys, this is the time to win the cup again. And so maybe we put a little bit of a wager here with those odds of about plus 2,000 for the Capitals to win Stanley Cup.
Yeah, and then we have a whole season to be on our heels to follow up how they would play, and especially during the playoffs.
Yeah, a little bit excitement again.
Very good.
All right.